What if the goal wasn't to win arguments, but to build a life so solid that no one would dare argue with it? True power is not about defending your choices. It is about living with a quiet conviction that needs no defense. This is how you build that life. Build a life others fear to question. Stoicism. Compiled and published by Stoic Dominion. Lesson 1. Unshaken Core of Self. Imagine a master architect tasked with constructing a great cathedral, a building designed to stand for 1,000 years. His first and most important work is not seen by the public. He does not begin by raising the soaring arches or the beautiful stained glass windows. He begins by going down, deep into the earth to lay a massive, unshakable foundation upon the solid bedrock. He knows that the cathedral's ability to withstand the storms and earthquakes of centuries depends entirely on the absolute integrity of this unseen core. This is the inner conflict that defines the modern man. We are obsessed with the outer cathedral, our career, our social status, our reputation, but we have neglected the foundational work. We have built a fragile facade on soft, shifting sand. The problem is that a life without a solid internal core is a life of constant, anxious instability. We are like a leaf in the wind, our opinions, our goals, and our very sense of self shifting with every new trend, every criticism, every passing mood. We become chameleons, changing our colors to please others, and in the process, we lose any sense of our own true color. This makes us fundamentally untrustworthy, most of all to ourselves, because we have no solid ground upon which to stand. The transformative solution, the first and most foundational rule, is to become the master architect of your own soul and to construct an unshakable core of self. This is the profound and deeply personal work of excavating down to your own bedrock and building a foundation of absolute inner certainty. The core Stoic principle here is that your identity must be anchored in your own character, your virtue, and not in any external thing. A man's true self is not his job, his wealth, or his reputation. His true self is his commitment to his principles, his courage, his integrity, his discipline, his justice. These are the pillars of the unshakable core. When your sense of self is built upon this internal, controllable foundation, you are no longer at the mercy of the external world. The storms of public opinion and the earthquakes of personal failure can rage all they want, but your core will not be moved. This is the beginning of a life that cannot be questioned, because its foundation is beyond question. To begin this deep, foundational work, you must be willing to get your hands dirty. The first actionable step is to draft your architect's blueprint. This means taking the time in silence with a journal to clearly define your non-negotiable core values. What are the 3 to 5 virtues that you will build your life upon? Honesty, resilience, excellence. Be specific. Write down what each of these values means to you in practical behavioral terms. This is the blueprint for your foundation. The second step is the daily alignment review. At the end of each day, take 5 minutes to review your actions. Ask yourself, were my actions today in alignment with my blueprint? Did I act with courage? Did I live with integrity? This is not for self-judgment, but for the calm, objective assessment of a master builder checking his work. The third step is to use your values as your primary decision-making filter. When faced with a choice, the first question is not what will people think or what is the easiest path, but what choice is the truest expression of my core principles. The benefits of building this unshakable core are a profound sense of inner peace and certainty. The anxious need to please others and the paralyzing fear of their judgment will begin to dissolve, because your validation will now come from your own internal blueprint. You will find your actions become more consistent, more purposeful, and more powerful. You will develop a quiet, solid presence, the presence of a man who knows exactly who he is and what he stands for. You become the great cathedral, whose awe-inspiring presence is merely an outer reflection of the immense, unseen strength of its deep and solid foundation. Your practice for this week is to choose your single most important core value. For the next 7 days, your mission is to perform one small, deliberate act each day that honors and embodies that value. Begin laying the first stones. Once your foundation is solid, you can withstand the inevitable storms of external judgment. A man of true substance is not one who is never criticized, but one who cannot be diminished by it. Next, we will learn how to endure criticism without collapse. To continue building your cathedral, please subscribe to Stoic Dominion. Lesson 2. Endure criticism without collapse. Imagine the great stone face of a mountain. For millennia, it has been assaulted by the wind, the rain, and the ice. The wind howls insults at it. The rain tries to wear it down with its tears, but the mountain remains impassive, unmoved, and utterly indifferent. The mountain's very nature, its immense, solid being, makes the criticism of the weather completely irrelevant. The mountain does not collapse because it is not engaged in a battle with the wind. It simply is. This is the inner conflict we face when we are met with criticism. We are the mountain, but we believe we are a fragile sandcastle. When the winds of criticism blow, when our work is attacked, our decisions are questioned, or our character is maligned, we feel ourselves begin to crumble. The problem is that we have granted the wind the power to define us. We have made the external criticism more real than our own internal substance. This makes us emotionally fragile. We either become defensive and angry, which is like hurling pebbles back at the wind, or we collapse into self-doubt and despair, allowing the criticism to erode our very core. In either case, we have allowed the weather to dictate the reality of the mountain. The second iron rule for an unquestionable life is to learn to endure criticism without collapse. This is the art of becoming the mountain, of cultivating a core of self-worth and purpose so solid that the opinions of others become as harmless and insignificant as the passing wind. The core Stoic principle here is the absolute mastery of the dichotomy of control. The words, the judgments, and the criticisms of other people are, as Epictetus would relentlessly remind us, things not within our control. They are externals. To allow your inner peace to be shattered by something you cannot control is, in Stoic terms, a form of practical insanity. A man of a Stoic mindset understands that criticism is merely information, often flawed, from an external source. It has no power to harm his inner self, his character, unless he chooses to grant it that power. He does not need to fight the criticism, he simply needs to not let it in. To build this mountain-like resilience, you must practice a new relationship with external judgment. The first actionable step is to create a criticism filter. When criticism comes your way, you must first run it through a logical filter before you allow it to have any emotional impact. Ask, is this person a credible source? Do they have my best interests at heart? Is the criticism specific and actionable, or is it just a vague insult? Most criticism will not pass this basic filter and can be immediately discarded. The second step is to practice the art of extracting the gold. In even the most unfair criticism, there may be a tiny 1% nugget of truth that you can use to improve. Your job is to be a ruthless gold miner. Look for the useful data, extract it, and discard the tons of emotional dirt it was buried in. He called me a fool, but his point about my presentation being too long is something I can learn from. The third step is to depersonalize the attack. Remind yourself that harsh criticism is often a reflection of the other person's own insecurities, envy, or inner turmoil. It is their storm, not yours. Have pity for them, but do not allow their storm to become yours. The benefits of mastering this skill are a profound sense of emotional invulnerability and freedom. You will no longer fear the judgment of others, which will liberate you to take bold, ambitious actions. You will become an incredibly effective learner, able to extract valuable lessons from even the most hostile sources. You will gain a reputation as a person of immense composure and maturity, someone who cannot be rattled by the petty dramas of others. You become the great mountain, whose silent, enduring presence is a testament to its own inner substance, completely unbothered by the ever-changing weather. Your practice for this week is to receive one piece of criticism, no matter how small. Your only goal is to pause, run it through the filter, and find one tiny nugget of gold, even if 99% of it is dirt. When you can endure criticism, you no longer feel the desperate need to constantly explain and defend yourself. Your silence becomes its own form of strength. Next, we will explore the immense power that is found in chosen silence. If you are ready to become the mountain, please like this video. Lesson 3. Strength in chosen silence. Imagine two master swordsmen about to duel. The first, a brash amateur, talks incessantly. He boasts of his past victories, he explains his superior technique, and he taunts his opponent. He fills the air with noise, believing it is a display of his confidence. The second, a true master, is perfectly silent. He conserves his breath, he focuses his mind, and he observes his opponent. His silence is not empty, it is a deep well of focused energy and potential. It is a sign of his absolute confidence in his own skill, which needs no verbal announcement. Which of these two men is more intimidating? Which one radiates true strength? This is the inner conflict we have with silence. We have been taught that silence is weakness, that it is a vacuum that must be filled with words to show our intelligence, our confidence, our worth. The problem is that this nervous chatter, this constant need to explain and defend ourselves, often has the opposite effect. It signals insecurity, it reveals our weaknesses, and it gives away our power. The man who feels the constant need to tell you how strong, smart, and successful he is a man who is not truly convinced of it himself. He is seeking your validation for his own claims. He is the noisy, amateur swordsman, and his talk is a sign of his fear. The third iron rule is to discover the profound strength in chosen silence. This is the practice of using silence not as a passive absence of words, but as an active, strategic tool of power, confidence, and authority. The core Stoic principle here is that actions speak louder than words. The Stoics were men of few words because they believed that a man's character is his only true argument. A life lived with virtue needs no verbose defense. In the face of questioning or doubt, a Stoic leader knows that the most powerful response is often to say nothing, and to let the undeniable evidence of his actions and his character speak for him. This chosen silence is not the silence of fear or submission. It is the silence of the master swordsman, who does not need to boast because his skill is self-evident. It is the silence of a man who is so grounded in his own truth that he feels no need to debate it with those who cannot see it. To begin wielding the power of silence, you must learn to trust it. The first actionable step is to practice the undefended statement. The next time you state an opinion or make a decision and someone questions it, resist the urge to immediately launch into a long, defensive explanation. Simply state your position calmly and then remain silent. Let your initial statement stand on its own. This communicates immense confidence. The second step is to use silence to absorb negativity. When someone is venting at you or criticizing you, instead of interrupting or arguing, simply listen in a state of calm, composed silence. Let their words wash over you without finding a purchase. Your silence will often de-escalate the situation and expose the irrationality of their own emotional state. The third step is to stop volunteering information. Stop feeling the need to explain your life choices, your goals, or your reasoning to people who have not earned the right to that information. Be a guardian of your own narrative. The benefits of mastering chosen silence are a massive increase in your perceived authority and power. You will find that people take your words more seriously because they will be a rarer and more considered commodity. You will preserve immense amounts of energy by refusing to engage in pointless arguments and defensive explanations. You will develop a mysterious and intriguing aura, the aura of a man who is perfectly content in his own inner world and does not require the approval of others. You become the silent master, whose quiet composure is more formidable than any loud display of force. Your practice for this week is to find one opportunity where you would normally jump to defend or explain yourself. Instead, choose silence. Observe what happens in the space you create. This strength to remain silent in the face of doubt is essential when you choose to walk a path that others do not understand or approve of. This leads us to our next iron rule. Next, we will discuss the courage to walk the unapproved path. To join us, please subscribe to Stoic Dominion. Lesson 4. Courage to walk unapproved paths. Imagine you are part of a great caravan, traveling across a vast desert. Everyone is following the same well-trodden path, a path that has been used for centuries. It is safe, it is easy, and it is approved by all. But you, through your own study and observation of the stars, have discovered a new, more direct, and ultimately more rewarding path. This new path, however, is untrodden. It looks dangerous and uncertain from the outside. The inner conflict is immense. If you stay with the caravan, you will have safety, companionship, and the approval of the entire tribe. If you choose your own path, you will face solitude, uncertainty, and the certain disapproval and mockery of those you leave behind. They will call you a fool, a heretic, a dreamer. The problem is that the fear of this disapproval, the terror of walking alone, is what keeps most people trapped on the crowded, mediocre path their entire lives. They sacrifice their own unique destiny for the comfortable illusion of safety in the herd. They live and die as a part of the caravan, never knowing the magnificent vistas they might have seen had they only had the courage to trust their own map. The fourth iron rule is to cultivate the courage to walk unapproved paths. This is the practice of trusting your own reason and your own vision more than you trust the traditions and opinions of the crowd. The core Stoic principle here is that you must live in accordance with your own nature and your own reason, logos, not in accordance with the whims of society. The Stoics were often rebels and outsiders. They questioned the common definition of a good life, the pursuit of pleasure, wealth, and fame, and chose a more difficult, but ultimately more rewarding path of virtue. A Stoic leader understands that any path of true innovation or reinvention will, by definition, be unapproved at first. If it were already approved, it would be the well-trodden path that everyone else is on. To build a life that others fear to question, you must first have the courage to build a life that others do question, and to not be swayed by their lack of vision. To develop this pioneering courage, you must become your own most trusted guide. The first actionable step is to normalize disapproval. You must accept as a fundamental law of nature that if you are doing anything interesting with your life, some people will disapprove. See this disapproval not as a sign that you are wrong, but as a sign that you are on the right track. If everyone approves of what you are doing, you are likely not being bold enough. The second step is to curate your influences. Stop taking advice from the people in the caravan. Instead, seek out the stories of the great pioneers, the rebels, the innovators, the people who chose their own path and changed the world. Make them your new tribe. The third step is to take one small, independent step. You don't have to leave the caravan all at once. Start by taking a small personal action that is based on your own unique values, even if it goes against the grain of your peer group. This builds the muscle of independent action. The benefits of this courage are the benefits of living an authentic and extraordinary life. You will break free from the invisible prison of social conformity. You will unlock your own unique potential and create a life that is a true expression of your own vision, not a pale imitation of what others expect. You will earn the only kind of respect that truly matters, your own. You become the great explorer who chooses the uncertainty of the open sea over the safety of the harbor, because he knows that is where the new worlds are found. Your practice is to identify one small way in which you have been conforming to the approved path out of fear. This week, make one small choice that deviates from that path and aligns with your own. Walking your own path requires a certain defiance, but this defiance must be guided by reason, not by adolescent rebellion. This is the essence of our next rule. Next, we will explore the immense power of irrational defiance. If you are on your own path, like this video to show your resolve. Lesson 5. Power of rational defiance. Imagine a wise and principled advisor to a foolish and tyrannical king. The king issues an unjust decree, a command that violates the advisor's core principles of justice and reason. The emotional rebel would react with a hot-headed public outburst. He would shout at the king, insult his intelligence, and likely end up in the dungeon or executed. His defiance, born of passion, would be ineffective and self-destructive. The Stoic advisor, however, practices a different kind of defiance. He remains calm. He does not raise his voice. He simply, with quiet and unshakable resolve, refuses to carry out the unjust order. He might say, "Your Majesty, with all due respect, my conscience and my duty to the laws of this kingdom forbid me from taking this action." His defiance is not emotional, it is rational. It is not an attack on the king, but an affirmation of a higher principle. This is the inner conflict we face when we are asked or pressured to do something that violates our own code. Our instinct might be to go along with it to avoid conflict, or to explode with an angry, emotional refusal. The problem is that both of these paths lead to a loss of power. The passive man loses his integrity, the aggressive man loses his influence and often his position. The fifth iron rule is to master the power of rational defiance. This is the art of saying no to authority, to the crowd, or to a deeply held tradition, not from a place of emotional reactivity, but from a place of calm, principled reason. The core Stoic principle here is that your highest duty is to your own reason and your own virtue. As Socrates, the philosophical grandfather of Stoicism, showed, a man must be willing to defy the entire state rather than violate his own conscience. But this defiance must be rational. A Stoic does not rebel against the laws of physics. He does not defy reality. He only defies that which is unjust, irrational, and a violation of his own character. His no is not the no of a rebellious teenager, but the no of a wise judge. It is powerful because it is not personal. It is an appeal to a higher objective principle. To practice this powerful form of defiance, you must become a warrior of reason. The first actionable step is to always ground your no in a principle, not a preference. Instead of, "I don't want to do that," which is weak, you say, "I cannot do that because it violates my commitment to honesty." This elevates your refusal from a personal whim to a moral stance. The second step is to remain calm and respectful in your delivery. Your defiance is of the idea or the action, not of the person. A calm, respectful tone communicates that your decision is not an emotional outburst, but a carefully considered, rational conclusion. This makes it incredibly difficult for the other person to attack you without looking foolish themselves. The third step is to be willing to accept the consequences of your defiance. A man of principle understands that his integrity may come at a price. He is willing to lose a job, a friendship, or his popularity in order to maintain his own self-respect. This willingness is the source of his ultimate power. The benefits of rational defiance are a profound sense of personal integrity and honor. You will become a person who cannot be bullied, pressured, or coerced into violating your own conscience. You will earn the deepest and most meaningful kind of respect, the respect that is given to a person of unshakable moral courage. You become the wise advisor whose quiet, principled no is more powerful than a rebel's loudest shout. You build a life that is so aligned with your own reason that no external authority can ever truly question it. Your practice is to think of a situation where you felt pressured to go along with something you didn't believe in. Rehearse in your mind how you could have expressed a calm, rational defiance based on a clear principle. A man who can defy the world with calm reason is a man who can lead. His authority comes not from his position, but from the very chaos he is able to withstand. This is our next rule. Next, we will explore how to project calm authority in the midst of any storm. Please subscribe to our channel to continue this journey. Lesson 6. Calm authority amidst chaos. Imagine a ship being tossed in a violent storm. The crew is in a state of panic, running frantically across the deck, their fear making the situation even more dangerous. On the quarterdeck stands the captain. He is not shouting. He is not frantic. He stands with his feet planted firmly, his hands steady on the wheel, his eyes calmly scanning the waves, the wind, and the state of his ship. His calm does not magically stop the storm, but it does something just as important. It stops the panic. His crew sees his unshakable composure, and it gives them courage. They return to their posts. They trust his judgment. His calm is the anchor that holds the entire crew together. This is the inner conflict of leadership in a crisis. When the world around us descends into chaos, a project failing, a market crashing, a family emergency, our instinct is to mirror that chaos. We feel the same fear and uncertainty as everyone else. The problem is that a panicked captain cannot save a ship. A leader who adds his own fear to the collective fear is not a leader. He is just another passenger. By losing his own composure, he forfeits his authority and his ability to be of any real use to those who are looking to him for guidance. The sixth iron rule is to cultivate and project calm authority amidst chaos. This is the practice of becoming the eye of your own storm, the unshakable captain on the quarterdeck. The core Stoic principle here is that of the sage, who understands that while the world may be chaotic and unpredictable, his own mind is a kingdom that he can and must rule with absolute order. His authority comes not from his title or his ability to control the storm, but from his demonstrated ability to control himself. In a moment of crisis, people are not looking for someone who has all the answers. They are looking for someone who is not afraid. Your calm becomes a beacon of hope and a source of profound psychological safety for everyone around you. It is the most powerful leadership tool you will ever possess. To become this calming force, you must train your mind for the storm before it ever arrives. The first actionable step is to practice your crisis protocols daily. This means your daily meditation, your journaling, your negative visualization. These are not just self-improvement exercises. They are your leadership training. You are building the muscle of calm when the seas are peaceful. The second step is to, in a moment of chaos, deliberately narrow your focus. Do not allow your mind to spin out into 100 catastrophic what-ifs. Force your focus onto the single, immediate next step. What is the one thing I can do in the next 5 minutes to improve this situation? This creates a sense of agency and cuts through the feeling of overwhelm. The third step is to control your communication. Your words must be simple, clear, and confident. Your tone must be calm and steady. You must project an aura of, "We will handle this," even if you don't yet know exactly how. Your composure is more important than your content. The benefits of mastering this are that you will become a true and effective leader in every area of your life. In a crisis, people will instinctively turn to you. You will build a level of trust and loyalty that is forged only in the fires of shared adversity. You will find that you can navigate the most difficult challenges with a level of grace and effectiveness that will astonish even yourself. You become the Stoic captain, whose calm authority is a more powerful force than the storm itself. You do not just lead your crew through the chaos. You are the living example of how to be unshaken by it. Your practice is to think of a current source of chaos or stress in your life. Your mission is to take one small area of it and impose a calm, deliberate order on it today. When a leader embodies all of these rules, he is no longer just building a life or a career. He is building something that will outlast him. In our final lesson, we explore the power of a legacy that outlasts all doubt. Please like this video if you are ready to become the captain of your own ship. Lesson 7. Legacy that outlasts doubt. Imagine the great Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius. He spent his reign fighting wars on the frontier, dealing with plagues, and enduring the treachery of his own court. The doubters and the critics of his time are long gone, their voices turned to dust, their opinions utterly forgotten. But his legacy, the cathedral of his character that he built in his private journal, the Meditations, has endured for nearly 2,000 years. It has outlasted empires. It has provided strength and solace to countless generations. His legacy is not in the battles he won, but in the quality of the mind he forged. This is the ultimate inner conflict that a true leader must face. Are you building for today, or are you building for eternity? We are often consumed by the daily struggles for success, for recognition, for victory. We are focused on the opinions of the people around us now. The problem is that this is a short-term game. The praise and the criticism of our contemporaries are fleeting. The doubts of others are like smoke that vanishes in the wind. A life built only to satisfy the present moment is a life that will be forgotten. To build a life that others fear to question is to build a life whose integrity and purpose are so profound that they will stand the test of time itself. The final iron rule, the one that gives meaning to all the others, is to build a legacy that outlasts doubt. This is the practice of seeing your life not as a short sprint for immediate rewards, but as the slow, deliberate construction of a great work, the masterpiece of your own character. The core Stoic idea is that the only true immortality is a virtuous one. While you cannot control whether your name is remembered, you can control whether you build a life of such integrity, courage, and wisdom that its effects ripple outward through time. A true Stoic king is always thinking of his legacy. He makes his decisions not just for himself, but for the future of his kingdom. He is not just living a life, he is crafting a story, a legend that will inspire others long after he is gone. The ultimate way to silence all doubt is to build something, a business, a family, a body of work, a character, so solid and so excellent that it becomes a permanent and unquestionable fact of the world. To begin building this enduring legacy, you must adopt the perspective of an immortal architect. The first actionable step is to define your legacy in a single sentence. What is the one core principle you want your life to be a testament to? He was a man of unshakable integrity. He was a man who met every challenge with courage. He was a man who brought order to chaos. This is the theme of your cathedral. The second step is to practice legacy-based decision-making. When faced with a choice, especially a difficult ethical one, ask yourself, which decision will the man I want to be remembered as make? This elevates your perspective beyond short-term comfort or gain. The third step is to mentor others. The most powerful way to make your legacy endure is to plant the seeds of your wisdom and your values in the next generation. Your legacy is not just what you build, but who you build. The benefits of this final rule are the achievement of a life of profound and lasting meaning. You will be liberated from the petty anxieties and short-term dramas of the world, because your eyes will be fixed on a much grander horizon. You will find a new source of motivation and resilience, knowing that you are not just working for yourself, but for the future. You will build a life that is not just successful, but significant. You become the master architect, whose name may be forgotten, but whose cathedral stands for 1,000 years, a silent, powerful, and unshakable testament to the enduring power of a life built on an unbending resolve. Your final practice is a powerful one. Take some time this week to write a letter to your great-grandchildren, people you will never meet. What wisdom, what values do you want to pass on to them? This is the beginning of your legacy. A life that others fear to question is not built to intimidate, but with such profound integrity and purpose that doubt can find no foothold. It is the silent, powerful testament to a mind in full command of itself, a character forged in the fires of discipline, and a legacy that outlasts the noise of its time. Thank you for your dedication to this journey of self-mastery. The work of building an unquestionable life is the highest and noblest calling a person can answer. If this guide has provided you with value, please like the video, comment with the iron rule that resonated most deeply, and subscribe to Stoic Dominion for more wisdom on the path to an unshakable life.